Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second shelf. Public service announcement first. There will only be one video this weekend. This one. So there will be no Friday reads. I'm sorry about that because I'm away the rest of the weekend from Friday onwards to well, it doesn't really matter. I'm away, so I can't film. But I thought I'd film at least one video before I go, and do something completely off. Well, not entirely, but anyway, you know me. I'm not good at readathons. I'm hardly ever really participate in a readathon. But this year, I thought my issue with readathons is the whole, shenanigans that you have to do while the readathon is going on, like, reading sprints and Twitter challenges and Instagram postings and whatever, what have you. That's just not for me. But a lot of readathons tackle a topic or an issue that I'm interested in. And so I thought I can just pick books and read those books while the readathon is going on and leave all the other good stuff of Instagram challenges and Twitter sprints to you guys and just watch them and have fun. But as for me, I'm just reading the books. That's what I always do, for instance, with Aussie April. I look at the challenges and I try to participate in terms of looking at challenges and picking books. But as you will see for this readathon, I have a pretty broad interpretation of prompts and challenges. Anyway, this readathon is the Springathon. It's the second year. I didn't do anything last year because I thought, well, if you don't do the Instagram challenge, you can't participate, which is stupid. But I learn. So this is the second year that the Springathon is going on, and I will have to have a look at all the organizers. It's Natalie from A Curious Reader, and I will leave a link to her announcement video down below. Then it's Emma from A Cup of Books, Juliana from The Blank Garden, and then the two ladies from the Book Naturalists Book Club, Doris from All the Books, and Heidi from My Reading Life. You will find links to all the channels, of course, down below, and also a link to the Book Naturalists Book Club reading list, because I think it's a fabulous book club, reading a nature book, one particular nature book each month. And I participate in that, and I don't do the challenges picture thingy on Instagram, but I'm reading the book, so I feel like I participate. Anyway, let's get rid of this Word document. The readathon is spring, of course, so the 1st of May until the 14th of May, so it's 2 weeks. And there is also a group read, and there are prompts. And the group read I will certainly read because it's sounded really interesting. It's called The Way Through the Woods of Mushrooms and Morning by Longlit Woon, and it was published I think 2 years ago, 2019. And the author Longlit Woon was born in Malaysia but moved to Norway when she was 18. She was born in 1958, so she has been living in Norway for quite a long time. She met her husband there when she was 18, and in 2010 her husband suddenly died unexpectedly, and he was only in his mid-50s. And in the course of the mourning, the grieving process, the author tried the typical stuff that you try to do when you're grieving, from yoga to her herbal teas. But what really helped her was when she enrolled in a course about mushrooms. That was a course that she and her husband were planning on taking. And then the mushroom searching and learning about mushrooms, that saved her. So that sounds fascinating. I know very little about mushrooms, but it sounds fascinating. And it's not only the group read for this readathon, but it's also one of the 2 books of the Book Naturalists Book Club reads in May. So I will certainly read that one. So one challenge already down. And then on to the prompts. Yeah, well, I said on to the prompts, but I just realized I didn't even tell you what the main challenge of this readathon is, because it's about spring. And so the main challenge is to read at least one nonfiction book about nature. I should have started with that before I told you about the group read. So the group read, of course, already fulfills the challenge. So if you participate and read the group read, you've done the Springathon. Anyway, but there are also prompts if you want to read more than that to help you along, and it's word pairs, and you can interpret these prompts any way you want. If you want to have pointers, I would suggest you watch Natalie's announcement video, because she gives you some ideas, some possibilities for the prompts. We'll open this document again, because I obviously can't remember all these prompts. So there are 4 word pairs, and the first is migration home. The second is bloom decay. The third, forage hibernate, and the last, buzz stillness. And I already said I interpret those prompts rather loosely. And even though the main challenge is to read a nonfiction book about nature, as I understood from Natalie's announcement video, you can also read fiction books for the prompts, as long as, you know, this theme of nature, whatever, plays a role. So I made a combination of fiction and nonfiction, and the first one is will be a reread for me, and that is Dola de Jong. She was a Dutch author. She was born in 1911 and died in 2003-ish, something. So the beginning of this century. And the book is called The Field in English. If you want to, you know, read not read the original Dutch, but the Dutch is called "En de akker is de wereld," so the field is the world. It was first published in 1940, and it was republished in a new edition a couple of years ago by my Dutch publisher, and that's when I read it, so 5 years ago maybe. And I might read the English translation, or maybe even the German translation for this reread, because that's always excited. So I'm like bumping into the camera, but it's always interesting to me to read, you know, a book that I know in a translation. But anyway, so Dola de Jong was a Dutch Jewish author who fled the Holocaust to Los Angeles, and the book is situated in the 1940s in Tangier, where you have a Dutch couple, Art and Lies, and they run a farm where they take in children, refugee children, and they try to, you know, grow stuff to eat, while they all hope that they will get a ticket, a passage on a ship to the US to safety. It's quite a harrowing book, but it is about migration, and it is about home and growing stuff. So I have been meaning to reread this book for quite some time, and I thought this is a perfect opportunity to actually do it, and maybe reread it in a different language. For the next pair, Bloom Decay, I actually have 2 books, one fiction, one nonfiction, because the fiction book, I'm not sure that I'll be able to get it in time. But let's start with the nonfiction book, and that is Why Fish. Oh my God. Why Fish Don't Exist, by Lulu Miller. And I'm looking down because I forgot the publication date. I think it was last year, yes, 2020. Lulu Miller is an American science journalist, and this book is about a taxonomist, Richard Starr Jordan, if I remember the name correctly, who was obsessed by, you know, classifying stuff, not this century, but some time ago. And he was into fish, so he classified fish, but there was a fire and he lost everything, and then he started anew. So I thought, bloom, decay, first of all, species, you know, they bloom and then they vanish like the dinosaurs, but also his collection bloomed and then vanished and he started over. And Lulu Fisher was fascinated by this story of this man, and if I understood it correctly, this book is a sort of a combination of a memoir, also about grief and loss, and the life of this extraordinary taxonomist. So that sounded fabulous. And the fiction book, the novel, is a new release, 2021 release, Diane Wilson, The Seed Keeper, which is about a multi-generational tale about First Nation people in Dakota and, growing stuff and seeds and bloom decay. But I already looked on various book sites and my own bookstore, and it's difficult for me to get the book, and there is no ebook available. At least so far, there was no ebook available. So I might not be able to get it in time, and then I will read it later because I'm still interested in this one for sure. Then the next prompt is Forage, Hibernate. And this is probably the biggest stretch that I made because I couldn't really find anything that interested me. But if you have a suggestion for this particular prompt, Forage, Hibernate, please keep in mind, preferably by a female author. Let me know down in the comments. But what I chose is Susan Orlean, The Orchid Thief, because everybody and their mother has read this book, which was published more than 20 years ago, and I haven't. So I thought this is a good opportunity for me to finally get to this book. But I don't even remember anymore what I thought, why it fitted this prompt, Forage and Hibernate, with the theft of orchids. But let me tell you what the book is about if you don't know. So it is about orchids and the obsession with one particular orchids. The Latin name escaped me, of course, but the idea of this orchid was endangered and of cloning it, and then Susan Orlean, who is a science reporter, I would say, a journalist, she went on this quest of the subculture of flower seed selling and orchids. And yeah, I thought probably the forage thing came because, to gather orchids and sell them. But I don't really remember. But anyway, this book sounded fascinating, and it has been sounding fascinating for a long time. Like I said, it's published 1998. So it's more than 20 years and I still haven't read it. So maybe this time for the Springathon, I will read it for the prompt Forage, Hibernate. And the last prompt is Buzz Stillness. And I picked a nonfiction book about nature, but more the universal nature, because it's about astrophysics, and it's Katie Mack, The End of Everything, Astrophysically Speaking, and the book was published, in 2020. And Katie Mack is an astrophysicist, and this book is about how the universe developed and how it will end. And if you follow my channel, have been following my channel for any length of time, you know that I'm fascinated by everything to do with the universe and astronomy, quantum physics. So when I saw this book, I thought that, I want to pick it up. And it fits Buzz and Stillness because as long as the universe expands, it buzzes with life and stars exploding and stuff. But there will be stillness at some point when everything is just dead and dark and there's nothing but void. Anyway, so these are the books that I picked to read for the Springathon, which happens from the 1st to the 14th of May. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know whether you are planning on participating with this readathon, and let me know the books if you want to. I'm looking forward to your comments, and I'm all caught up with my comments. I'm so proud of myself, and I will see you not for a second video this week, as I said, but I will see you next week when I'm back with the Friday reads. And until then, take care of yourself. See you soon.